Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Protect the Cash Before It Leaves. Thanks so much for joining us today. I'm Mark Hudson, Vice President of Product Marketing here at ERP. I'm calling in from sunny Leeds, well, as sunny as it can get in Yorkshire, and I'm joined today by Paul Sutton, who's dialing in from Dublin. Before we get going, a quick bit of housekeeping. All lines are currently on mute, so please do drop your questions into the chat panel as we go, or message me directly and I'll pick them up. We'll have plenty of time for Q&A at the end. So let me hand over and introduce my co-host properly. Paul Sutton is a co-founder here at ERP and our commercial director. Paul has spent years helping JD Edwards customers get more out of their reporting, and he's seen firsthand where cash quietly slips out of a business and what it takes to catch it in time. Paul, over to you.
Thanks, Mark, and thank you everybody for joining. We fully appreciate and acknowledge that people are busy, so taking 30 minutes out of your day to join us is very much appreciated. We wanted to focus, let's say, this webinar on cash, cash management, treasury management for a particular reason. One is that we believe whether you're a big company or a small company, cash is important and potentially even more important as times go on and things change so quickly in your business. The second reason we wanted to focus on cash is that we actually think it's a particularly strong use case for our ERP platform. If you think about it, let's say there'll be people on this call or listening into this webinar who have, if not thousands, hundreds of thousands of transactions that happen in your business on a daily basis, each of which has the ability to impact cash in some way, shape, or form. And we think these signals are particularly hard for people to find and people to track. So the focus of, let's say, this webinar is to try and help you understand and be aware of the tools and the technologies that are out there that will give you the ability to be able to identify leaks in your business and in your cash before they become problems, and give you the ability to understand why they're happening and what you can do about it. And that's the ultimate goal. Let's say if we've achieved that through the webinar, we'll have achieved what we want to cover. So what are we going to do in this session? We're going to break it into two halves. One is to explain some concepts and our view, let's say, of the problem and the opportunity. And the second one then is to dive into the software and give you a sense of let's say, how eyko looks pretty uniquely to solve some of these problems that you guys grapple with on a daily basis. Full disclosure, not non-disclosure, full disclosure, we're not the cash and treasury management experts on this call. You guys are. You're the people who do this on a daily basis. Well, our role here, let's say, in this webinar is to make you aware of some of the new technologies that are possible and the new things that are possible with AI in order to make you more effective or more efficient in, let's say, in your role. The way we see the world effectively is, and this is the way typically lots of businesses are structured. Every organization, let's say the people in the companies that are participating in this call, they already have experts in their business that manage these individual functions. So whether it's procurement, inventory, receivables, treasury, operations, et cetera, these are all highly capable people who are doing the right thing. But the problem about cash is that because cash is affected by so many microtransactions that happen across your ERP system and your other systems, it's impossible for these people to be able to see all the signals at all the time. So people will be able to, certain little things will just start to happen in your business whereby a customer starts to pay a couple of days late and then inventory starts to slowly build up and procurement buy a little bit too early and treasury maybe increase borrowing, let's say. None of these things are big deals in their own right, but if they come together and happen at the same time, they could potentially create the perfect storm. So our goal, let's say, with an eco type platform is not for it to make each department work harder, but give you the tools that enable you to identify these signals across the individual stovepipes within your business, to be able to see things before they start to become a crisis, to be able to understand why, and to be able to take action. Typically, the way it works, let's say, in a current environment is that some of these signals are being picked up by your reports and dashboards, right? we think there's hundreds, if not thousands, of signals that happen in your data. We don't believe all the reports and dashboards are picking up all the signals. But when a signal emerges, it attracts somebody's attention. It invariably means that somebody gets the job to go and investigate what happened, why it happened, and what could be done about it. That investigation is typically manual. That investigation typically requires people to potentially go build more reports or go build more dashboards or whatever else like that. Maybe go speak to the various different functions, operations, sales, procurement, to try and identify what's going on. Ultimately might manifest itself, let's say, in a report, let's say present to management in order to be able to make a decision in order to how to fix it. If this signal is detected in an existing report or dashboard, it's already happened in your business. You lose that money is leaking already. So while you're doing this investigation, that leak continues to happen, let's say, as part of the process. And we see that leak to be sort of what we effectively look to call the decision gap. So one of the things that eyko is trying to solve is to shorten the decision gap, to reduce the amount of time it takes from you being able to detect a signal in a business for you to be able to act confidently and take an action. And in order to act confidently and take an action, it's not a coin toss. It's about understanding why things happened and what you can do about it. It's not just what happened, it's why and what you can do about it. And invariably, that's where most time is lost. So the eyko platform looks to try and help you understand why certain signals are appearing, what's driving them, what are the things that you can do in order to affect it, and what might happen next. And by compressing or shortening the decision gap or reducing the amount of time from signal to decision, we give the business the opportunity to either save the money it will make as part of making the decision earlier, or generate the opportunity and benefit from the opportunity earlier as a result of the decision it makes. So think about it in real terms, let's say, as in essence, a decision intelligence layer, excuse me, that sits above your existing reports and dashboards. Not trying to replace your existing reports and not trying to replace your existing dashboards, but effectively acts as a sonar across all your cash functions within your business to be able to spot these signals and to be able to detect. As I said, no one signal is necessarily a problem, but a combination of signals could become a problem. So ultimately, what we're looking to try and do is give you that early warning to be able to detect these problems, but then also the understanding of why things happen and what you can do about it so you can effectively go and take action early. So breaking that down into eyko functionality, eyko's got effectively 3 capabilities that exist within the product. One is playbooks. The way to think about playbooks is think about playbooks as sonar or radar. I think I've got a cash leak problem. You go and ask that question, let's say, of a data set, and the idea of the playbook is it's going to come and it's going to parse that data set and look to surface up signals or things or indicators in the business that suggest you might have a problem, but not just service them up, but also to be able to explain to you why they're happening and what you can do about it. So think about, let's say, playbooks as sonar or radar, let's say, for your business systems that are constantly surfacing up signals. Pulses then think of them as monitors, let's say. So a playbook has identified a problem. A pulse gives you the ability to go and create, let's say, a report or a dashboard around that problem, where you want to drill in and lean into that problem in much greater detail, understand what's going on and what's driving that behind. And then finally, to close the loop on the entire process, conversations is about the ability to be able to go and just ask questions of that data set and get an answer back. I'll show you, let's say later on, where you could go and ask a question, how does my DSO compare today against my target, right? A straightforward natural language question of a data set that delivers a result back. And our sense is that by grouping these 3 capabilities together in order to be able to detect the problems within playbooks, to be able to lean in and understand the problems with pulses, and then to be able to track and trace the progress, let's say, in conversations, we're looking to effectively deliver, let's say, an intelligence solution around how you can effectively manage your cash and get better cash results within your business. So what are we going to do, let's say, as the demonstration, we're just going to quickly jump over in a second, is 1, look at playbooks and understand how playbooks surface up problems, understand pulses and see how they can give you the ability to monitor it. and then finally be able to go and ask questions, let's say, of that data. Probably, let's say, before we jump off, let's say, and go over to the demo, maybe one thing that, that is potentially worth considering, and we're seeing it, let's say in our dealings with our customers, right? Cash problems rarely start where they're discovered. They surface in a particular area, right? So what feels like might be a revenue problem actually probably started as an inventory problem. What feels like, let's say, a collections problem maybe started with some problem in operations or delivery or customer success, let's say. So where the signal might surface isn't always where the signal starts. And it's that ability to be able to do that root cause analysis and to be able to get back to the source of the problem that gives people the confidence to be able to effectively action and move forward quickly. So that's it with regards to slideware. Let me now, let's say, jump over to software, and give you a step through a couple of things. So eyko is a cloud-based platform. It's a subscription service. It has the ability to be able to connect to your data, whether it's on-premise or in the cloud, whether it's external data services, whether it's from files, et cetera. It brings all your data together. It gives you the ability to be able to build effectively these three capabilities: playbooks, conversations, and pulses. eyko comes with over 270 out-of-the-box playbook ideas that are already built into the software. We come with 27 playbook ideas that are already built into the software in the area of cash and treasury management. So we offer people a very fast place to start, let's say, in getting up and running with the software. So the first thing, people are going to be sort of asking at your end is, well, okay, that's all great, but what's a playbook? So let me just go click here and show you, let's say, some playbook examples that we have set up in the system. So as I said, there's over 27 playbooks that exist in the area of cash and treasury management. I've just grouped a couple of them together into a couple of headings because 27 is just too much to be able to try and see and get your head around on a webinar like this. So let me start at the top. Here's a playbook, let's say, cash improvement opportunities. So I'm going to go click on this playbook. And a playbook is a new content type. It's not a report. It's not a dashboard. It's gone off and it's scanned your data. The question here that I asked in this playbook is right here in the header. Where is my biggest opportunity to improve cash? I gave it that, and I gave it a data set, and I didn't do anything else. And it's gone and off and created this piece of content for me. As I say, it's not a report. It's not a dashboard. Let me just scan down this for a second and give you a sense of it, and then I'll come back and go slower. So it's giving me an executive summary. It's telling me where my hidden cash opportunities are, what I can do, what's the benefit of accelerating collections, where's the top entity concentration. It's telling me where the best cash opportunities are. What should I do first? This looks like it effectively looks like a report. It's a grid. Sometimes we need to deliver information in charts and grids because it's just better for visualization of the data. It comes with recommendations around what are the actions effectively that need to be taken. Down here, you see, one of the key things, let's say, around playbooks is what's the story behind the numbers. If you're going to take action, if you're going to make a decision, it's not the number itself. It's the story behind the number that becomes important, because that starts to lean into the why this thing has happened, and it starts to lean into what you can do to fix it. Why is my cash under pressure, right? It's giving me a breakdown as to where it's effectively tied up. Again, as I say, not looking to replace your existing reports and dashboards you have, let's say, in cash and treasury management, looking to try and solve a different type of problem. Always trying to give you an insight, let's say, as well with the data. Inventory is the largest pressure point, 31%. Only 2.9 million above payables. 9.8 in above receivables. Receivables opportunities, payables opportunities, working capital opportunities, inventory liquidity, forecast confidence, financial impact, risk assessment, and then down here where playbooks got its name, recommended actions. What should management do next in the next 30 to 60 days? Again, this is not sort of looking, These are recommendations. We're very much a believer in human in the loop. The idea of these recommendations is to stimulate conversation, is to encourage people to be able to take action. It's not to do the step or to take the step themselves. As I say, we're very much a believer of human in the loop in order to be able to do it, right? But that's the type of an example of a playbook, let's say. So let me just show how easy it is in order to be able to go and create this type of insight or this type of content. Just going to switch into edit mode here. Yeah, in order to create a playbook, I give it a title, I give it a problem statement, I give it some, let's say, additional details. And here I'm just saying I want to keep the narrative to 40 words and that sort of stuff. I go and run it against a data set. So I can run it against an ERP stream, but I can also run it against a series of files. I can go and run it against website content. I can go connect it to systems. As I say, this data can come from on-premise systems. It can come from cloud systems. It doesn't really matter. So really easy for me to define the data set that I want to do it. And then in my layout, this is effectively what we call a custom playbook. And what a custom playbook does is it gives you the ability to be able to go and create, let's say, chapters, yeah, or sections in the playbook. I can do a review playbook where I just give it a prompt and it works out all the individual sections. But in this example here, I wanted to create these individual sections. And in order to create the section, let me just show you what's involved. Come in, decide if it's a bullet, if it's a chart, or if it's a graph, give it a summary, give it a task, off it goes. And that's as much as it takes in order to be able to go and create the playbook. So let me cancel out of that there for a second. And let me go back to just look at that again in full mode. One thing that's critically important, let's say, because this is an AI-powered type technology where it's going and looking for signals and surfacing up and rendering them in high-quality output, let's say, that is presentable at any level in a business in our mind. Because it's effectively driven by AI, we think that for people to be comfortable with, let's say, the outcome, there's a couple of things that are important. One is to be sure that you're feeding a playbook is being built off clean and accurate data. And eyko at its core is a multi-data source blending and streaming platform. So we're confident of being able to bring data together from multiple sources, get it in the right shape in order to be able to build your playbook. But the other thing is sort of important, and for people to be able to trust the output, is the ability to be able to hit this toggle button here and see the explanation effectively of the logic, let's say, that the playbook is building. Yeah, or the model it's building in order to create the content. And our sense is that if you've trust in the data that you're using in order to build your playbook and you understand what AI is doing, it will quickly build trust in, let's say, the output or the findings. So that's an example, let's say, of one type of playbook. Let me just quickly just jump down here. Let's say in payables, I've built a playbook around, dynamic payment strategy. And again, the question is, given our current cash position, forecast, and supplier relationships, commercial priorities, what is the optimal payment strategy? And this is just trying to look out and suggest what's the best strategy for you to use, for the cash that you have available from a payment point of view. Executive summary at the top, again, it's sort of saying that, if you go and deploy this strategy, you might actually be 1.3 million better off, etc. It's saying that there's over 2.4 million in discount benefit that's there. It's looking at, let's say, supplier payment recommendations as to who you should potentially pay, why you should pay them, a recommended strategy around what you do with them, what the impact might be. It's giving it a priority score. It's created a relationship score. You might be reluctant, let's say, to do things to sort of some of your really key and critical type suppliers, etc. So it's factoring all that in. Again, you're getting the narrative on the bottom of explaining, what's the driver, what's the story behind the numbers, the decision rationale here, the discount and financing opportunities that might exist. Let's say if you wanted to apply, let's say, discounts, based on the terms and that sort of stuff. Supplier risk assessment, trying to work out maybe, how far you can squeeze certain suppliers without potentially sort of doing some impact to your business. And then again, a recommended plan as to what you go do it. So again, another example, let's say, of another type of playbook. Again, really easy to build, exactly as the cash improvement one was before. Last one I'm going to touch on is this DSO optimization, because this is going to give me a nice bridge let's say, between DSO bridging over, let's say, into a pulse. So here we've basically, run a playbook with a very simple ask: what is driving DSO and how can we reduce it? And it's sort of coming down and saying DSO is down, but it's not optimized. There is a real prize here in being able to reduce it. There are, a number of drivers that sort of matter most in order to be able to do it. It's trying to understand where we stand and what's the size of the prize. It's giving me a breakdown of current DSO, the potential cash acceleration, what you might gain if you could potentially take a day off your DSO, etc. It's looking at the various drivers across the business. It's going down and looking at the customer, prioritization effectively around who you can go and sort of, go call tomorrow, etc., or the actions that you should take in the near future. The invoice intelligence, let's say, around, the status of some of these invoices as to whether they're current, escalated, etc., across the board. Yeah, and then some of the DSO improvement opportunities that you can be able to do. So that's the idea, effectively, of a playbook. So if you think about it, I'm worried about my DSO. I come in and I run a playbook over my DSO data. It surfaces up this particular thing. The next thing you might want to do then is go effectively build a pulse around that data. So in this example here, this is effectively an eyko pulse. Some people will look at it and say that looks remarkably like a dashboard, let's say, be it a pulse grid or a pulse chart or a pulse report. All these capabilities exist. We're looking at our DSO targets across the top, our cash acceleration, our disputed amount. You're getting the ability to be able to drill effectively into your credit risk type and take it all the way down to customers. So for some people, they look at this and think this is effectively a report or a dashboard or whatever else like that. And then down here, we're breaking out the customers by their individual segments and their open amounts and what's outstanding, etc. One of the things where this moves very far away from the traditional reporting capability is because if I have that as a report or a dashboard, it tells me what happened, but it doesn't tell me why, and it doesn't tell me what I can do about it. So what we have over here on the right-hand side is the ability to hit this Discover button here. And the Discover button is looking to service up insights, as to what's going on in the data that I've selected here, right? So if you think about it, this data is highly aggregated, and it's made up of transactions at a really low level that all get bubbled up effectively into this grid. But what we're looking to sort of show over here is some of the insights that exist. So what are the actions that need to be the key insights, and what are the actions that need to be taken? And we believe this ability to be able to look at what some people might think is a set piece report or a set piece dashboard, but to be able to go and not just drill down as you saw me drill within the chart, but also to be able to go and ask the AI type questions of the why and the what next. Become really valuable in empowering people in order to be able to make the decision. So you're getting a drill down on exactly what's going on here and what are the suggested actions and what are the things that people should look to try and do about it. So that's effectively, I've identified a problem with a playbook. I've created a pulse to go and lean into it and dig into it. And I might keep this pulse live on my screen for a while until the problem is resolved. The last thing then you can do for certain people is give them the ability to potentially go and ask questions of the data set. And that's what we call conversations. So let me just start here by starting a new conversation. I want to run this against my DSO optimization stream. Going to hit confirm. And then I'm literally going to come in here, and ask a question. And I said in the earlier part of the webinar, maybe the first question I want to ask is, how does DSO to target? So very simple, natural language question of a data set, going to give me the result back. I didn't need to know how to write a report. Didn't need to know how to build a dashboard. Didn't need to know how to do an ad hoc inquiry in order to be able to do it. I'm literally coming in and asking questions of the data set and getting an answer back. Maybe after that, I see my DSO. The next question you might want to ask her, what customers are the biggest blockers. Here it's going to go off and it's going to return, let's say, with sort of maybe a list of customers potentially where we have, let's say, the biggest problems, let's say, in order to be able to collect cash, etc. Going to process that. That's going to come back, and it's broadly saying, here's a selection, let's say, of customers. Here's your DSO blockers. High opening balances, more than 30 days overdue, below average probability in paying. Yeah. And here's the list of customers. We can roll it down. We're getting a breakdown. We're also getting to what to do next this week. Yeah, etc. And then maybe the last question, just to close this off, is what is the next best action? And it's going to go off and look at the data and maybe suggest some things that you might want to do as a priority in order to maybe alleviate, let's say, your DSO. So in essence, what we're looking to try and do here is, with this platform as a decision intelligence platform, is that because of the very fragmented nature of all the transactions that happen in your business across all your systems, each one has an implication and a bearing on cash. It becomes really difficult without an eyko type tool to be able to track all those signals and to be able to spot these things that maybe are little problems to start with, but either escalate if they're left untouched, or when combined with other signals start to become a problem for our business. So our goal, let's say, with eyko playbooks is to be able to go and surface up those signals and suggest actions. Follow that on then to be ability to be able to, within pulses, to be able to go create set piece reports to go and lean into those things, go to a lower level of detail that you would get in a playbook, to be able to track and trace and monitor progress on solving that problem, but also being able to get your AI insights as to what is the root cause of these problems and how can you go fix them. Because as we said at the top of the call, the cash problems rarely start, where they're discovered. And then finally, the conversations is all about giving people confidence, to be able to come in and ask questions and get answers back, and being able to work with data in a different way. So these problems don't ever escalate to a stage where they start to become a major crisis. And that fundamentally is really how, I said at the top of the call, I thought that we wanted to focus on cash because everybody cares about cash. But I also wanted to focus on cash because cash is a really good use case for eyko, primarily because of the fragmented nature, the micro signal nature. Think about all your systems and all the modules within your ERP systems that you run, all giving off signals on a constant basis. A fraction of these signals only being picked up in your set piece reports and dashboards. And that's ultimately what this technology is looking to try and do. As a decision intelligence platform, it's looking to close the gap from the time the signal is detected to the time that you take action, by giving you confidence that the actions you're taking are the right actions, and being able to tell you why the problem exists without having to go and do that manual research. So that's why we feel very confident that eyko is an incredible platform to solve the cash and treasury management use case. And hopefully, as part of this session, you've seen potentially a tool that can help you go and get better control of your cash leakage, and your cash management. That's it from me, Mark.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Paul. That was excellent. Really great demonstration of the eyko platform. We have had a number of questions through to me, so thank you for those who've taken the time to ask them. They are all grouped into a similar category, Paul. So David has asked, some of our data is on premise, some is in the cloud. What options do you have for this?
Yeah, so fortunately, we've got quite a few options, Mark. So we give people the ability to be able to go. So eyko comes with a whole bunch of connectors, let's say, out of the box, so really easy for us to connect the system. We give people the ability to be able to go and interrogate the data as it lies in your existing system. Let's say, so connect to your, let's say, JD Edwards system on-prem, and to go and interrogate, let's say, your JD Edwards system and deliver data back in order to build a playbook or a pulse or a conversation. But we also give you the ability to be able to ingest that data from, let's say, take the workload off your production system and move it into the eco environment, where you can go and potentially blend that data together with data from other systems, put it in a stream like I showed you there a second ago, and be able to build a pulse or a playbook over that. So we've got lots of options open as to how we connect the systems. As I say, it's not just cloud or on-prem. We're seeing, let's say, in certain industry verticals, the ability to be able to connect to external data systems, compliance, regulatory data, ESG type data, living in systems, let's say, outside a company's organization. We can also connect to that and bring that in for reporting, dashboarding, and analysis purposes.
Thanks for that. Thank you. I've got another question as well, and it's related to the conversations that you were just showing. Question is, not all our data is in our ERP. We have help desk tickets, and we also have sales reviews in another system. Can we have conversations across our entire data across our organization?
Yeah, I think that's. I think it's actually one of the real unique propositions around ERP is because we give you the ability to be able to go connect to all these systems. So I could connect to your Salesforce system, your ticketing system, your ERP system. And in essence, in cash, you need to do that, right? Because, unhappy reviews in a help desk system is probably going to impact your ability to collect cash, let's say, for an invoice or whatever else like that. So you do need to bring that data together to get a true sense of, how happy or unhappy a customer is and their ability and likelihood to pay. So I think in essence, that multi-data source capability is pretty important, right? But probably what's more important is you're having AI type conversations over that data. And our sense is that, every solution will have to have AI within it in order to be successful going on into the future. So JD Edwards will have its own AI, Salesforce will have its own AI, HubSpot will have its own AI as well. But really what people need to solve this cash management problem is what eyko offers, which is universal AI, right? So AI over all your data, even though it came from different systems, because your business process in lots of cases works across systems. And you need to be able to follow that crumb trail and that data across the various different systems. So it's no good jumping into the AI capability in JD Edwards and finding I've got an invoice problem. And then I have to jump into Salesforce and find that I've got an unhappy customer here. And then I find over here, I've got a help desk delivery late problem, let's say, in a different system. You want all that in universal AI across one data set. And that's one of the key strengths, because we're bringing the data together from all your systems. You're getting that universal AI that runs across your business process. Yeah, not specifically just the data that originates in each individual system.
Fantastic, thank you. We've about hit time. We've just run over by a few minutes, so apologies for that, everybody. I want to thank you all very much for joining us today and taking the time out of your day. The replay will be available and will be emailed directly to you at the end of this the webinar. And finally, if you would like a further deep dive into eyko and the platform, or you want to personalize it around your data, please feel free to reach out to us. Just go to eyko.ai, request access, and we can book a call where we can show you eyko against your data. That's it for everyone. Thank you, Paul. And thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, everybody.